just the right amount of sarcasm. We're pulling back the curtain on the industry. We're talking to the experts, the educators, the innovators, and the everyday clinicians who are out there doing the work. There's no fluff, there's no filter, and there's definitely no sales pitches disguised as education. If it's happening in dentistry, from clinical insights to regulatory curveballs, or maybe it's the latest scandal at the ADA, we're probably already talking about it. And yes, we are bringing the goods. It doesn't matter if you're a seasoned doc, anyone in the dental industry for that matter. Maybe you're a curious consumer, or maybe you are just here for the banter, because there's always some of that. We welcome you all to the show, because around here we are not just in the loop, we are in the know. Hey there, everyone. I'm Dr. Jeff Horowitz. I've been gone for 2 weeks. It's been quite a journey. Maybe we'll get into that a little bit, but back here and excited to see two of my best friends in the world, Dr. Jennifer Bell and Dr. Chad Duplantis. The three of us created this humble little platform to make the dental world a little bit smaller, but a whole lot more fun. Today, I'm really excited about our guest, because you all know all of our passion for continuing education and the journeys of all of us, which have taken us all over the United States and all over the globe. And today we truly have one of the best educators and clinicians in the game. She is the executive director at the Pankey Institute. Chad, you know who's with us? I know you know, because you booked her.
That's right, I did.
You did. We have Ann Brady with us.
I'm very excited, yes.
Yeah, very exciting. So we'll talk a little bit about the Pankey Institute and what's going on down there and the latest and greatest. And, you know, we're pretty agnostic here at Dentists in the Know. We just want people to be passionate about dentistry and find a way to provide it better. So I'm excited, guys. I hope you are.
I am, Jeff. I got to tell you, man, the new glasses.
Yeah, bad.
I'm sure. No,
little Jeffrey Dahmerish.
I'm trying to figure out if you're more John Goodman or Walton Goggins. They definitely have an interesting feel to them right now. So
it could be a Jeffrey Dahmer thing.
They could be Jeffrey Dahmer. They're very funky looking, but I like them. I dig them. I mean, that's the new style. Put them back on, dude.
All right.
Don't be ashamed of them.
Yeah, well, I've had a lot to be ashamed of this week, so I'm a little more tender-hearted than I usually am tonight.
Yeah. No, I like them, dude. I'm trying to tell you, I like them. I'm just trying to figure out what the analogy is, and I think I just nailed it. I think it's a very skinny John Goodman.
John Goodman?
Yeah.
Jeffrey Dahmer meets John Goodman?
No, you don't look like
Big
Jeffrey
Lebowski,
Dahmer.
John
Jeffrey
Goodman?
Dahmer is
Lebowski, John Goodman.
Yeah. All right.
Jeffrey Dahmer eats John Goodman, not meets John Goodman. Yes.
Did you ever hear that song, Don't You Dare Have Lunch with Jeffrey Dahmer?
No, I did not.
No.
Obviously it's
I'm going to ask you not to sing it.
Howard Stern did it back when I was living in New Jersey. And it became the song everybody was singing. I cannot sing it here, even though we use the cuss words sometimes. I don't think I can say exactly what was in the song.
That was a song that everyone was singing?
Yes. Howard, at this time in New Jersey, everybody was listening to Howard Stern. And so anything he did was repeated 1,000 times. And it was actually pretty funny, but not what Jeffrey Dahmer did, but the song.
And what was the name of the song?
Don't You Dare Have Lunch with Jeffrey Dahmer.
All right, I'm gonna look it up after the show.
But don't play it on the show.
I will not.
Definitely don't.
JB, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm so excited. You know, I love to geek out on education, so I'm really excited about tonight.
Well, everyone knows us all as geeks, so I think we shouldn't even let this go on too long.
I know.
Before we get to some news and then bring on Dr. Brady, because I'm just stoked about this.
Is there anything that you wanted to talk about? It sounded like when you did your opening, you wanted to share.
Well, you know me, I always want to share a little bit, but let's just say, because I'm going to put it in Friday fail,
Okay.
that I had a humbling clinical moment on Monday. I've been placing implants for a long time, had something happen that has never happened in all the time that I've placed implants, a pretty significant event. And just left me humbled, left me figuring out how do I continue to get better in a way that doesn't allow a crazy fluke like this to happen again. And the last incident I had like this was probably at the very beginning of my career, when I had a hypochlorite incident
Yeah.
through an open apex on a number 8, and the woman just immediately started swelling and bruising, and I saw my career just fading away when that happened. But nothing came of that lawsuit wise. But yeah, sometimes no matter how well you plan, no matter how hard you try, no matter how much education is behind it, sometimes we just have a bad outcome or a mishap, and we truly did. So I will share that in Friday fail, though, so I don't want to give it away
Oh, I
tonight.
love that. A little
Yeah,
teaser, if you
yeah,
will.
a
What
real
did the
Friday fail.
what
Like,
did the
this is
Red
a
Hot Chili
real fail.
Peppers say? Give it away, give it away, give it away, man. Give it away, give it
You know,
away, give it away
the
now.
best part though, Jeff, I think that's so important about what you're talking about is number one, we're humans and it will be as long as you're practicing on other humans, we're all susceptible to adverse outcomes because malpractice is malintent.
Right.
Adverse outcomes are going to happen when we're operating in the state of biology. And I think it's important for newer doctors out there to hear that, all of us who would purport to be somewhat experienced and have pursued a bazillion hours of education and, feel confident 99% of the time, either miss something that they should have seen, whether it's rushing or, just it didn't hit the radar, missed a symptom, failed to diagnose. And I think we've all had those moments, um, or just frankly, an adverse outcome happens that just didn't go the way that we were hoping. And so I love that you're being vulnerable and honest about that because I think we don't talk enough about those things that happen in clinical practice that will lift up other people because the more we hear about it and kind of normalize the fact that
Yeah.
we're all human. Because if you stay on social media and Instagram long enough, you start to believe that you're the only one making mistakes,
Yeah. Well,
you know?
listen.
There's a
This
lot
So,
of people on social media that have never made a mistake in their life.
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
But listen, that's why we decided to do what we do, right? We're like,
Exactly.
let's give it the way that it is. Let's talk about it the way that it is, because all of us have had bad things happen in
Right.
practice. Those who really pursue a lot of education and try to be their best probably have it happen a whole lot less, but it doesn't make it any less impactful, or it doesn't hurt any less because, like, wow, I'm really educated. I planned this surgery perfectly. Um,
It's like
execute.
you go in and you do a class 2, and how many have you done? I don't know, 40,000, fifty
Yeah.
thousand, maybe at this point. Or you give a block and you miss it, or you do a class 2 and you're like, "Why is this one so freaking hard?
Yeah.
Like, I have done and mastered this technique. Why is this patient or this tooth kicking me in the pants?" Like, this career is continually humbling, I think, until the day you hang up your handpiece. I'm sure that Dr. Brady has a few things she could probably highlight on that as well, just to from an educational perspective and kind of, the one thing that you have, Jeff, the one thing that you have that a lot of people don't is you
Is a
have a
glass of wine.
community, is a glass of wine and a community of people who love you and want
Yeah.
to hang out and talk to you about that. We've talked about Wednesday nights are opportunities for us to be together and share, and it's therapy for some weeks. It really is therapy. And I think it's therapy for people who listen to us as well, because if you feel alone or like you're the only one that had a shitty week, you weren't,
Yeah.
you didn't.
Well, this one's going to be fun because when I post the X-ray, inevitably somebody is going to say, "Who is the numbnuts idiot that did this?" Right? And
Yeah.
the thought in my mind of having that happen is just
I can't wait. I'm so
but
excited.
but more importantly, I you know, I haven't had a night in dentistry that I've come home and said, "You know what? Someone today walked into my office a little worse off than they walked in."
Yeah.
Right? And like that is the most upsetting thing
Yep.
in dentistry
Yep.
is
I get
when
that.
you go home and have to think that someone walked in and they were really in great shape when they walked in, and I did something that really changed that.
The worst thing about them when they walked in was apparently they were missing a tooth.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So anyway, we'll leave that up, but
we'll unpack that for a Friday.
yeah, yeah. But it's good to see you guys. It's
Boys,
good to
it's
be
good to
back.
be reunited again.
Thanks for covering my
And it
slack
feels so
ass.
good.
Huh?
I said, and it feels so good.
Hmm.
Reunited.
Sing?
And it feels so good.
All
Mhm.
right, let's let JB do some news so we can get to the great Ann Brady.
I can't wait.
Take Jeff and Chad away, Ben.
All right, my friends. Now, I'm nervous because I have some news to share with you about more laws changing in states. I really hope that the report that I read is correct, because it didn't go so great in Kentucky. So I'm praying in Virginia I've got my facts together. Granted, I don't make up any of the information. I'm simply seeking and sourcing information that I can find from verified sources. But I'm hoping tonight, when I share this news from Virginia, that will, whether you're happy about the news or sad about the news, you won't say the news might not be factually correct. So, Virginia had a pretty big change that happened. Their governor Spanberger signed into law this week 2 dental workforce related bills. The first is to allow internationally trained dentists to pursue licensure in the state of Virginia as a dental hygienist, permitting that they, do qualified training and that type of thing to prove competency. The second big one is that Virginia approved certain DAs to be allowed to perform supragingival scaling and polishing procedures under supervision. These are 2 direct laws to deal with the hygiene shortage and access to care issues that the state reports that they are currently experiencing. So, until they can expand hygiene education programs, they're going to have to leverage internationally trained dentists and dental assistants to fill in the gaps. And actually, the ADA was in support of this bill. I think they were looking at other states that have similar models in place that have been very successful. So, maybe that's the Alabama program, where that's been proven actually very successful for the state of Alabama. If you're not familiar with it, it's a dental assisting training program under the supervision and training of general dentists who have attended and also pursued additional training education to be able to train their dental assistants to perform supragingival scaling. They're not doing SRPs or scaling, root planing, and periodontal procedures, but they are at least supporting the hygiene practice. So we'll see. I think this is all continuing to be a response for the fact that we can't find hygienists, and when we can, um, they often can be cost prohibitive to the bottom line. We'll see. Not an opinion, simply a fact. We talked last week about actually the HHS disabilities requirement, civil rights paperwork that was going to be required to be in place. The deadline was May 11th of 2026 if you had 15 or more employees. Well, they heard the cries from the people in the bleachers saying they could never meet this deadline and comply, and so it's just short order. So now the entire rule has been extended to May of 2027. That is for individuals who have employees more than 15 or less than 15. So I would definitely take this opportunity now to read more about the act and the requirements that are housed within it, because it seems like while we have extended the deadline, we certainly haven't removed it. Now, this is an opinion piece. It's not news, other than teeth made the news yet again this week when the LA mayor, who's up for re-election, Karen Bass, mentioned that one of her platforms that she's really focused on is helping for the rehabilitation of teeth for meth addicts. She's received a lot of criticism from folks who believe maybe we focus on the meth addiction first and then we can do the rehabilitation. I'm going to leave that one out there and just let you stew on it in the comments. Go ahead, hit me up, blow me up, whatever you want to do. But she put it out into the ether, so now we have to talk about it. So she wants free dental care for meth addicts. And I don't think there was clarity on whether or not those would be in pursuit of recovery meth addicts or just currently active meth addicts. So anyway, there we are with that. The last interesting piece of news for the week: we may have just discovered the first evidence of dentistry. We thought maybe it was much more recent, but there was a tooth that was discovered in an archaeological dig that from a cave in Russia. It's a very fancy cave name that I'm not even going to dare pronounce on the show, that showed a drilled hole into a tooth that looked like a cavity. Now, this tooth looked very different than the dozens of others that they had found, which made the researchers believe that this may have been an activity of dentistry, one of the first early signs of dentistry, almost 59,000 years ago. So they're intrigued. They want to dig a little bit deeper into this to see if actually humans were performing dentistry as early as 60,000 years ago. But at least for now, it proves evidence that we've been trying to fix decay. And that was without Coke and Dr. Pepper, as Chad likes to talk about. That was without processed foods and sugar and a heavy acidic diet. It was probably a Neanderthal diet, which is all the craze, by the way. And still decay has been a problem. Maybe not as rampant, but still was present. So this has been the bane of the human existence since at least 59,000 years ago. And with that, that's the news.
Riveting.
Right? Were you there for that, Jeff?
I knew that was coming. I was waiting. I was like, I was going to beat you to the punch and say, wait, what year did he graduate?
Was he in my MUSC class?
It's not fair.
You couldn't. It looks like malpractice because they didn't even fill it up. It's just a hole.
Well, maybe, who knows? Maybe
I'm interested. I mean, if you think about that, did you say 59,000 years ago?
Yes. It's a Neanderthal. They found it in a the guy isn't even upright walking.
What did they think they were going to put in there, though? Like, why make a hole if you're not going to fill it? And what do you put in there? Poop?
Well, okay, let's hypothesize really quick. We have to bring our guest on. Maybe she wants to participate in this conversation.
Okay.
But, okay, let's just say you had decay and it was hurting you really bad. There are a couple of things that you might want to do. One, like scoop it out. You could put like a stick in it so things wouldn't get stuck in it anymore. Here's the thing that I do know. It could very well be some type of like stick or something that, when you do something repetitively enough times in the mouth, it becomes a defined characteristic. Think about tongue thrusting. It's kind of crazy that a tongue moving forward that many times can open up teeth and change the skeletal structure of a face. What if they had some technique that they literally put leaves, sticks,
Well, that's what I was saying.
I don't know, to cover it up just to keep because just keeping food out of it would make it more comfortable.
Well, and what if you put the same thing there every day and it's acidic? I mean, was it an erosive lesion of some kind?
It could be. It's a
Yeah.
pretty good hole. I'll make sure that we post it in the comment section, but it definitely, it doesn't look, it looks kind of like a GV Black prep, but it definitely
But
has
even he wasn't alive then yet, JB.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I'm pretty
So
sure.
they could have put cloves or something in it that's been in
sure.
existence for years, something medicinal. I mean, plant-based medicine's been around for as long as we know,
I will say
Man.
this though, the pictures of the tooth, it has a vertical root fracture, so the thing was toast,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
He should have known that.
He should have
Soon.
known.
Hey, let's bring our guest up.
Yes, let's do
Can't
that.
wait.
All right. So as we're bringing her up, I'm going to introduce our guest. She is I'd like to consider her a good friend. She is a wonderful human being. She's a privately practicing dentist and nationally recognized educator, lecturer, and author. Extensive history in leadership. She is currently the executive director and director of education at the Pankey Institute, which is, one of the many reasons that she's here tonight. But she has also developed a vast library of online instruction at leannebrady.com and restorativenation.com. She practices in Glendale, Arizona. Please welcome Dr. Leanne Brady. Thank you for being here.
Woo!
I'm super thrilled to be here.
Can't
Well,
you hear
we're-
the
Of course,
crowd
I
roaring?
didn't get my bourbon or my wine in the mail though. So like next time,
Well,
I think we need to do one of those like cocktail
we can
courier
take
things.
care of the accoutrements though.
Yeah, that you do have a
Right.
pretty sweet swag box on the way. Maybe we do this
Right.
in the wrong order, guys.
Yeah, maybe we need to send
Maybe
a bottle of bourbon.
Leanne, you're the first one to bring this up. So historically, it's not a surprise now because a lot of people post about it. But after you're on the show, we send you a thank you gift, which has a cocktail glass with our etched with our logo on it. And a lot of people think they're great. But now I'm thinking like we should be sending.
I think you need to
before
have
the
it for.
show.
We need to have the merch in the video.
Yeah, this is such an obvious marketing miss on my part.
No. This is great. We floundered.
The problem is that
Friday
it's
fail.
such a hot find. People would sign up for the show, they'd get the glasses, and then they'd be
And
ditch
then
us.
they quit.
Yeah. They'd be like,
That is so
No.
true.
we're not
Sorry,
going to be
we're
on the
out.
show. Yeah.
And then there would be an Etsy market flooded with these etched glasses.
Yeah. Like, hey, who the
What
hell
the
wants
hell
to
are
hang
the
the dentist in the
dinks?
know? I sure didn't. Yeah. So
Okay, well, we're always obviously we're all really interested in executive responsibilities and building businesses and marketing. So I think it's really great that we're all sitting here together today.
But this is what leaders do. They problem solve even when they don't think they're problem solving.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Just natural.
Exactly.
yes, note to self: alcohol and glasses before show.
Got it.
Yes.
Noted.
Okay. Leanne, how long have you been practicing dentistry for?
Oh my
wait.
gosh, we're gonna start
We're
there.
not
We're
gonna
not going to go there.
you
We're not
ask
going
a
to go there.
lady in
I'm
a
not going
hat?
to go there.
She
let me
wasn't with that
rephrase
Neanderthal.
Let me rephrase that. Let's go
Exactly
back.
how old are you,
Let's
Dr.
go-
Brady?
Let's go back a little
was
bit
trying to think.
further.
I'm the closest one to the tooth in Russia of the four of us, I think, probably.
Yeah.
But
So-
I've been,
so-
I've been
I don't know. I
practicing
could fight you
38
for that
years.
one.
30, how long?
So 38 years.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I had you pegged a little bit shorter than that. So there you go. You just gave yourself some grace. That's pretty freaking awesome. Now tell us when you started with Pankey and what led to that decision.
Oh gosh. Okay. So, well, I guess there's two answers because you could say, when did I start with Pankey as a student?
That's,
So I
that's
took
where
my
I want to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And why did
Okay.
you
So
choose it? Yeah.
I took my very, very first class at Pankey in the fall of 2002. And honestly, it's a fairly long story, but I'll give you the synopsis that about 4 years before that, I actually quit dentistry. So in 1999, I sold my practice I owned in Atlanta, Georgia. I quit, tore up my Georgia dental license, never practicing again. And then through a set of circumstances where my husband was unemployed, had to go back to practicing dentistry and still had my current license and my active license in Florida. ended up in a practice with a classmate from dental school who got me that job. And the guy who owned the practice had been to the institute. And like the only thing he made me promise when I took that job is that I would go down and start the curriculum. And I was basically planning on quitting. Like as soon as my husband got a job, I was out, dude, because I was done. So I would have promised him about anything at that point, right? I just needed a paycheck. But as it turned out, for the first time, I was enjoying practicing dentistry, and there was something about his practice that was just so different, that I ended up not only going to Pankey, but staying, and then ultimately several years later getting a job at Pankey. But yeah, it was not a plan, Chad. I wish I could tell you it was a plan. It was pure serendipity.
So, okay, you just opened up a whole can of worms because from what I gather, and this is me, like you're sitting on the couch and I'm asking you questions right now, but from what I gather, you at first didn't like dentistry. Is that
I hated dentistry. I not
okay?
even
Okay.
didn't like it. Hated it.
Okay. And this gives a lot of people hope because I can tell you that it's not that I didn't like dentistry, but it wasn't until I did a deep dive into dentistry that I really loved it. I felt it was monotonous. I felt that I was getting burnout, and this was maybe
Right.
2009 to 2010. Only been out there 10 years. I was getting burnout. I just needed to find something, and my trigger was I had a problem within my practice, and you will probably know this, Lee, but it was a problem with cementation, and everything was coming off, and I was having all of these issues. So I did this deep dive, and I really that's what started me, and then it would let that one thing led to another, and so it kind of like it sounds like you had this similar shining moment in your career where and it was a different way of getting there, but and you fell in love with dentistry because you're pretty damn good at it. So I love this. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I do love practicing dentistry now, which is why I still practice and I teach because I don't want to not be in clinical dentistry. Interestingly, like when I stepped away in 1999, I'd been practicing a little less than 11 years. And I see a lot of people for the first time at Pankey who are sort of in that same spot. Like, they're at a dental, like the first couple of years, you're just so busy trying to figure it out. I don't think you can dislike it yet. Right. But then you get to a point where you figure like I should know how to do this. And you either run into the issues like you guys were talking about in the intro, where you just have one of those days in dentistry that I like to go. I walk in my office and say, that's it. I'm going to be a barista at Starbucks because a lukewarm coffee never killed anyone. Right.
Yes.
Mhm.
Right. Those days. But you're at a point where you're doing it long enough, you figure you shouldn't have those days anymore. Right. And so then, yeah, it gets frustrating and stuff doesn't work always the way you expect it to. And that lack of predictability. And you guys hit on a couple great points. I mean, one is community. That was also a point in my career where I was practicing in isolation. I
Mhm.
wasn't part of a group of people who knew what it was like to practice dentistry. Like, God love my husband, but he's not a dentist. And when I come home and whine, he literally is like, what the heck are you talking about? Like, people would give their left arm to be a dentist. I'm like, come spend a day.
Mhm.
Right. So you have to have a community of other people who can both be excited with you when you want to totally geek out over that case you just did because it looks so great or the patient was so happy, because non-dentists also think that's weird. Right. But who you can also talk about the days in dentistry that are just so frustrating, and they don't just think you're whining, like they get it because they have those days. So the absence of enough knowledge to have it be predictable, or at least, here's the thing that I love about learning in dentistry, it doesn't always make it go right. But what I have the ability to do is figure out why it didn't go right and how to
That's right.
do it differently the next time. Maybe not in the moment, but after the fact. It isn't just a recurring, it's always going to happen and I don't know how to stop it. That's the gift of a community of other people you can talk to and being part of ongoing education.
I
And
want to
all that was
piggyback
missing
on
for
that
me.
really quickly, because one of the other parts of that, I think you're kind of talking around it, is mitigating that disaster too. Like early in practice, because of lack of knowledge, I either hadn't experienced the disaster or my own failures yet or whatever. And as you're in it long enough, you surround yourself with people, you do the deep dives. And now I'm like the worst salesman of dentistry ever, frankly, because I want to make sure that we've put everything on the table. We know exactly what we're all walking into, so that when it goes great, I look like a hero. And when it goes exactly as I said it would, then I look like at least I know what I'm talking about. So that's the other piece of it, is the knowledge of knowing that sometimes things just don't go well, regardless of your own skill set.
Well, absolutely, Jennifer. I mean, like the reality of it is dentistry is just a balance of risks and benefits.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
And anything we're going to do comes with potential risk and potential benefit. And the patient has to know both sides. And I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I tell my patients that, I do a veneer case on a 40-year-old. I make sure they know this isn't going to last forever and you're going to outlive this, even under the best case circumstances. And so you need to say, I want to do this enough, not just to buy it once, but to potentially buy it 2 times or 3 times
Yep.
to, I hope you live long enough to do that, right? Um,
Exactly.
and a lot of dentists will say to me, "Oh my God, how do you do that?" Like patients won't say yes. I'm like, "Oh, you're going to be surprised. This probably the same amount, maybe more of them say yes. The difference is that when they have to have maintenance dentistry, which and no dentistry lasts forever, they don't look like a deer in the headlights, and they don't have to blame you for it because otherwise they're the person responsible and nobody wants to take that on. They get that it just is the way it is,
Yeah.
right? It just is the way it is.
Absolutely.
Lee,
And I
so this brings me to
go
another
ahead.
point, because what I really wanted to know from you is, I know what the moment was for me when I said, oh my God, this whole career is going to be different from this day forward. What was the thing that you picked up or that you learned that made you say, oh my God, I get it? This is what is going to make this career so different from what it used to be.
I mean, that's a great question, and there's probably about 5 answers to that. But I will tell you the first one that came to mind when you asked the question is there's a very particular presentation we do in our Essentials One class, which when I took it, the person giving it was Dr. Erwin Becker all those years ago, where you basically have to get really, really clear that you get to choose to practice dentistry any way you want to practice dentistry. And that the truth is if you're unhappy, the only person you can blame is the person in the mirror, because you actually have the power to change that. Like you can actually make those decisions. And we actually have more autonomy about that in dentistry than probably about any
Agreed.
other
Yeah.
profession that you can think of, right? I mean, so as long as you don't violate the laws in your state, so we talked about Virginia dental practice laws. So as long as you don't violate your dental practice act, nobody gets to tell you how to do it. And sure, anything that you want to do is going to come with a cost, right? If you say I only want to practice 3 days a week, yeah, there's going to be a cost to doing that. But you have to figure out for yourself what it's going to look like for you to love practicing dentistry. That's on you. And the truth is, you'd think it's silly that that wasn't a realization, but when I heard that, like all of a sudden I got that, like, okay, so I'm not stuck with the way the insurance companies tell me I have to do it. And it's not because of the guy I bought my practice from used to do it this way, right? And I don't have to do every procedure simply because the patient needs it. Like I actually get to say, I love to do these things. I don't love to do these things, and I can come up with that model. And for me, that was really freeing. Now, it was also kind of overwhelming because I thought, okay, first, now I have to figure out what that looks like, right? I actually am now burdened with that answer. But the other thing for me that I knew is I had to have dentistry be as predictable as humanly possible.
Mhm.
Right. I am like really exceptionally hard on myself. And that's a life's journey to get that I'm just a human being. I'm doing the best I can. But like literally
I hadn't gotten there yet
when
either. Yesterday was
yeah, I'm not there. So it's my life's work, right?
Yeah.
But like literally when I see a bite wing of a restoration that I did 6 months later or a year later in hygiene, and that margin isn't perfect, like I know for a fact the instant I wake up to go to the bathroom at 2 o'clock in the morning, there's no going back to sleep because that hamster
Prostate
starts
troubles.
to go. And by 3:30 in the morning, I'm the worst dentist on the planet. And right, I needed to know I could get as little of that as humanly possible, which meant I was going to have to put myself in the path of a lot of continuing education. Because when I made that realization, I wasn't there yet. I was maybe a below average operative dentist. And to get there, I was going to have to put in a lot of work.
Yeah.
I think you bring up a really good point, because when you see that restoration that you're not happy with, I think the hardest thing for these young dentists, and I'm dealing with a couple of young dentists now too, is that, the hardest thing is that they learn perfection in dental school. They learn what perfection looks like. Okay. They don't learn perfection. They learn what perfection looks like. And they can't justify the fact that, A, is it working? Do I need to redo it? Is it something that I should just continue to monitor until I absolutely need to redo it? Which is the way that I look at those things now. I look at it with a very different eye than I did. But one of the hardest things for a lot of these professionals, young professionals, to understand is that, when you redo it, if it's something that you did, you just redo it. There's no
You just
charge to redo it. There's
just do it.
that should be the last thing from your mind, is that, oh, I can't do this because I'm not going to make money on it. No, 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 no. Young Jedi, you will make money on it in the long run when you have to redo something and you own up to your mistakes and you just redo it. The patient's going to respect that, hey, this person's a perfectionist. They're not charging me for their perfection, but they're a
Okay, I want to dig in. I get asked this question a lot from younger doctors, not chronologically young, but young in their journey. What CE should I pursue? Like, there's the top 3, 4 that they've all heard of: Pankey, Spear, Kois, Dawson, all founded on, I think, very solid principles and have great reputations of producing very high quality education. But each individual doctor is trying to figure out what path might be right for them. And they see mentors that they respect who've gone through different curriculum. And so they, are seeking that guidance. And you and I talked about this before the show, but they have a even more unique challenge because they're coming out of dental school probably the least amount of repetitions that we've ever seen from our graduates. They've spent a tremendous amount of money to get to that point. And now they're really faced with the burden and recognition that it's going to take a lot more investment to actually get to be the dentist that they look to as a mentor or whatever. Do you have guidance on helping those doctors find their path, and how do they source it? How do they figure out where their investments should be spent, and philosophies of care and that type of thing?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I would tell you is go any of those places, right? Because the reality of it is any of those curriculum-based continuing education programs are going to make you an exceptionally better dentist, right? And every single one of them teaches just exquisite, clinical dentistry. There is a difference between technique based or one off courses, right? And
Correct.
a curriculum based education system. And so, that there's big differences from a standpoint of, if you commit to a curriculum, by the time you get to the end of those courses, whether it's 3 courses or 4 courses, you're going to have covered pretty much the entire width and breadth of the topics that you really need to be confident and competent as a restorative dentist, all the way from the exam and the diagnosis through really complex execution. Okay. And I think what happens for a lot of us is we take just that 3-hour class at a state meeting or a regional
Yep.
meeting, and you learn one little tiny piece of a technique. And yet, I love learning a pearl. Listen, I'm the first person to go. Like, I just learned about using Teflon tape in the embrasures for my
Mhm.
shrink wrap veneer provisionals. Like, I literally thought I'd won $1 million, right? But
I
so
just saw that too. That was mind blowing.
I know, and it works. I've done it like 3 times, by the way. It's awesome. But
Okay. Validated, not from Instagram. I appreciate that.
but so literally there's value in those kinds of clinical pearls. Okay. But the bigger piece of building a career that you love, that you look forward to going to your practice, that reliably dentistry is predictable, that you can figure out how to have the confidence and competence to take on the patients who walk in your office, that you're not going to get that in 3 hours at your state dental meeting.
Correct.
And I know a lot of people who take this little topic or that little topic, and then they also just can't even put the pieces together. Right. So they both have value, but they're very different. And I would tell you that pretty much all of the dentists that I know who I admire, who I would aspire to be like, who had careers, like long time periods of careers that I respected, that they enjoyed, that they found fulfilling, will tell you that at some point in their career, they committed to a curriculum-based education system from one of those
Correct.
places you mentioned. So my first piece of advice was just do any of them, right? Do any of them. It's, you know what? It's easy to be a good dentist. It's hard to be a great dentist. It takes a lot of work to be a great dentist, right? So there's a difference there. And then where do you go? The reality is there's lots of ways to decide. You know what? One might be geography. 2 of them are on the West Coast and 2 of them are on the East Coast. And if a 5-hour flight's going to get in the way of your doing it, then go to the one that's closer to where you live, because doing it is more important than probably which one, truthfully. And then there is learning style, right? And you may have a particular person that you just feel like you learn well from, and you've seen that person online, or you've taken a 3-hour class and you're like, I like their teaching style, I like their demeanor. Go learn from that person, because we don't all learn from everybody, because sometimes temperament gets in the way, right? So that could be a piece of it. Some of them are very small classes. Pankey, we don't do a class that's more than 24 people. That's the largest class we teach. So all of our classes are super small. And if you want that 20 people to 24 people with 5 to 8 faculty, that kind of a faculty student ratio, that might work for you. And if you want the anonymity of sitting in an auditorium with 200 people, right? So, right, there's those pieces of the puzzle. And they all have communities. And that's the other thing that's nice about all of those places is you may find your people. That's what we talk about. Like, I found my people in dentistry, like the people I can text on a bad day and say, I just want to do a buccal pit, like, because I think I got that one, right? And right, and those kinds of things. Because having a community is a big, important piece of this, I think, for all of us who figure out our path, right? We have to have our people. And you know what? And the other question, you didn't ask me this, but I'll answer it. People say, what makes Pankey different? And that's because we're not just about technical education. So 59 years ago, somebody made a promise to LD Pankey that for as long as we used his name, we would always teach all the arms of his philosophy. So every course in our curriculum is technical dentistry. It's helping you develop your philosophy. What do you want dentistry to look like for you? It's practice management. It's patient communications and case acceptance. It's personal financial management. It's business financial management. You can't take a Pankey course without there being all of those topics covered someplace on that schedule for that 3 days or that 4 days. And I do think that that's a huge thing that makes us different. And our small size classes, we don't aim to teach a lot of people. We teach who we need to teach every year as a nonprofit. And that's the other thing for me, I will tell you, because I've done this and taught CE in a lot of different modalities. What I love about running the Pankey Institute is we're a nonprofit. And so 51% of my attention has to always go to, and I'm held to the standard of, are we helping dentists? Are we meeting our mission and vision? Are we changing the lives of our participants? And only 49% is, okay, are we making enough money to keep doing what we're doing? Right. So it's always mission first.
That's awesome.
And that's very different than when you have a board of directors who want to get a check at the end of the year. Right. So it just makes the focus a little different.
For sure. Leanne, you know what else is a nonprofit? Dentist in the Know.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Not officially on paper, but
not
Yeah.
officially on paper,
Yeah.
but just in reality. That's it.
So Leanne, I want to add to what you said. You know, when we hear about a lot of these institutes, you know, I think two words that come to mind are cult and culture. And I say that jokingly because when I had the privilege of speaking at the Pankey Symposium a couple years ago, I realized that there was a real culture that's been created there. And you know, a couple of the things that I think, you know, I'm not going to say that you failed to mention, but I'll never forget sitting there and listening to someone who I've seen on a meteoric rise since that day was Dr. Chris Mazzola. And he was talking about your essentials courses. And I mean, here's me, this guy that really had no idea what I was getting into. I knew all about Pankey, but he was talking about how he grew through each of the essentials courses. And I see what he's doing now, and it's phenomenal. And then I watch people like Mike Rogers in Arlington, and you know, and then I watch Lindsay Walsh, who's close here, who's just starting to grow with the curriculum. And I'm seeing a lot of great and fantastic dentists being shaped through your curriculum. And it really is a culture. And you know, there was just so much that happened that weekend that was just really spectacular. So kudos to you all for what you're doing. But the other thing that you're doing that I think you briefly touched upon is I see that when I'm at like Texas Dental Association in Florida and several places, you all are doing these like mini Pankey courses. And I think that's a great way for people to realize, you know, hey, like you said, I want to learn from this person. So where are some places that people can go see kind of what, maybe get a taste of what Pankey's about? I think I hit two of them, but maybe you can tell us some others.
Yeah, I mean, we are. So we do our Essentials 1 class, which is the first class in our class curriculum. We do on the road these days, probably about twice a year. So this year we actually were in Seattle at the Washington AGD, and then we were just at the TDA meeting in San Antonio. Next year we'll be at Chicago Midwinter. So we'll be in Chicago in February. And I'm still working on the second one, so I can't tell you exactly where it's going to be because I haven't signed the contract, but we'll do it a second time. But we also do 2-day Pankey courses and sort of Pankey learning tracks. So we have those coming up at Greater New York this year, at the Ohio Dental Association meeting, at the Hinman next year, at the Florida Dental Association meeting. So, I mean, honestly, we do them probably almost anywhere somebody that's running the meeting asks me to do it, if we can work the logistics out. Because for us, it really is about bringing that knowledge and information to people. And if I can close the barrier of traveling to Key Biscayne by traveling someplace else, then that's worth it for us. So yeah, so we will take our classes on the road a lot. And then we also have a faculty that's about 100 people deep. And you mentioned Chris Mazzola, but Charlie Ward and Michelle Lee. And there's tons and tons of folks that are Pankey faculty that teach probably at every dental meeting across the continental United States and through Canada. So it's really easy to sort of do a sampling of what you might learn at Pankey at probably no matter where you live. You can find a meeting without having to travel very far. And then, of course, online. So Pankey Online, we run courses, free courses and super low cost courses live every month. And we have nearly 1,000 of them that are pre-recorded with and without CE. So you can also just go right to the Pankey website. And if you want to sample something and see what the topics are like or the speakers are like, you can totally do it from the comfort of your own home. So, but you are correct, Chad, that one of the things that makes us super unique is our culture. And you know what? There are the name of people that are considered greats in dentistry who came through the Pankey curriculum, and that was the thing that sort of started them on their path into education and to research or doing other great things in dentistry is really long. Part of that's we've been around 59 years, but because it's just it you will come away from it just really finding your path in dentistry and wanting to make a difference in dentistry.
I forgot to mention two of our great friends, Dr. David Rice and
Yep.
Tony Cruz McLeod, who is just
Yep.
I'm watching him just take off. And the first time
Are
I
we
met
just
him in
name
person
dropping
was at
now?
Pankey.
Yeah.
No,
Or is
but
that what we're
these are
doing?
people that have just
Okay,
had
my
these.
mentor, Dr. Keith Phillips.
Yeah.
No, but
Mhm.
these are
You know,
people
Mark
that have just
Hyman.
had.
I mean, like, is that what we want? Is this the game we want to play, Chad?
I'm
Is
not
it?
playing a game. I'm just mentioning people that have done great things after going through Pankey.
You know what, though, we proved, Chad? You know what we proved? We
I
all
guess I
have
proved
very
that I'm a name
influential.
dropper. I'm not sure. You tell me what I proved.
Oh my gosh. Panties. Wad. That we all have like really influential people in our lives that we're
Yeah.
coming across that pass through the gates of Pankey.
Yeah.
And I watched it firsthand actually with Dr. Phillips. Like his life changed
Mhm.
fundamentally as a tiny little intern working in his practice, who was not participating in Pankey before. And then when I came back after the years, sort of continuing to support the practice and seeing how it changed him as a clinician and what he's done with his career since then, it was life-changing for him.
You know, I want to throw something else in here too, because Lee, you briefly talked about this, about the fact that you have such a great student to faculty ratio, the small crowds. But just before that, you said maybe some people want to go into these type of continuums with anonymity. And I would say, you know, I mean, all of us have been to courses large and small, to continuums large and small. And I think anybody that's really been impacted by great CE will tell you the same thing, that it really comes in those smaller environments where, yeah, maybe you might have to raise your hand and have to get involved and take yourself out of that comfort zone a little bit. But once you do, you start to create these relationships that will become lifelong relationships, and you will learn as much from that person sitting next to you because you were vulnerable and raised your hand and spoke out and were engaged to have conversation. I just think, you know, if you're going to make that kind of investment in your career, that do it in a way where you're going to surround yourself with community that is really going to have your back while you have their back, and make you lose maybe some of that discomfort to be out in front. I think that's what builds great dentists.
Well said. I could not agree more. Right, being in a place where it's safe to just say the things you need to say. I think for all of us, when we think about the best moments of learning in dentistry, that's where it happens. Whether it's with 2 people or 3 people or 5 people, But yeah, getting to share our stories and what dentistry is actually like for us often is the most impactful part, more so than what comes from the front of the room. No
Yeah.
question.
Especially when Chad's in the front of the room. Oh. Sorry,
Is he
Chad.
muted?
I don't know. Maybe his dog was barking again.
Chad, is your mic working?
I was
Try that.
cussing you all out, so I shut it down for a few minutes.
Gosh.
Now I'm back. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I'm back. My mic's working now.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
it's working. Yes, it's still working.
I had to say, when we were talking about like which curriculum should you choose or whatever, by the way, if you're lucky to live and practice long enough, you can do more than one. actually. And I have found,
Absolutely.
having done some curriculums and then kind of moving around, like to your point, I pick up pearls, or each curriculum has these kind of very unique ways of looking at things in their own microscope or their own lens. And it does seem that each time I move around and kind of absorb a new piece of education coming out of really the four major groups, because they kind of have this beautiful amount of information. You're like, oh, that's actually a really easy way to think about that. So I'm now going to put that in. So we as doctors become this really cool amalgamation of these great leaders that kind of started these movements, and at least into their own infinite wisdom, they knew that there was going to be a really strong need for doctors to be in community, to create a culture and mentorship and fellowship with each other, and to continue to grow. Like, this was not a do dental school and then go. Hey,
Be
by
done.
the way, do other medical professionals feel this way about education?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean,
I
I know
don't-
a few physicians, but I don't think they do this the way we do it.
I don't think they do.
Mm.
I really don't. And that's not a knock on them. I just, there's something about our DNA. Like, we cannot stop. We're obsessed with getting better. And maybe it's because we work on awake people.
Well, and think about it. We're told, we're looking at over 90% success rate in everything we do. Like Chad said earlier, we're taught,
Yeah,
or at
that's a great
least
point.
aiming for perfection, from dental school. We get out, we were told everything had to be perfect. Then we realize it's not all perfect. And we kick our own asses over 90% success rates, right? And physicians are told, well, some of them are going to die anyway. I mean, like, a surgeon with an 80% success rate is a very happy general surgeon. So it's such a different atmosphere. We just put so much on ourselves, just from the point that we get out of dental school. So I really do think it's a different breed.
So
It's why we kill people and
one of the
suicide.
things that I want to bring to light is that we're talking about several schools of thought for dentistry here, and we were talking about whether medicine goes about the same thing. One of the points that I want to bring is that the schools of thought that we have brought up tonight, including Pankey, maybe at the forefront, are not going to be the ones that's tagline will be increase your bottom line, increase your productivity, increase your profitability. If you do things the right way, that will all come, my friends. I promise you. The tagline of all of these is that it's a patient-centric improvement upon your skills, basically. And that's not just clinical skills, that's financial skills, that's life skills, that's communication skills. That's what we want. So what I want to guard people against is hey, come to my curriculum and I will improve your bottom line, because that's not always the best way to go. You need to improve who you are as a person, as a dentist, and as a healthcare provider. That's what I want to see from these curriculums. And all the ones that we're speaking of are exactly that, especially Pankey.
Agreed. I think that's if you do things correctly and you're happy and you're enjoying what you're doing, you'll have more patience and more business than you'll know what to do with, honestly.
One of the other things that you highlighted tonight that was it last week we talked about, but it's been a very consistent theme for any provider that we have talked to, we'll say who's over the age of like 45, that there are multiple phases of their career. And I think some of the pressure that we put on ourselves to make the singular right choice of if we want to open, where we're going to go, what we're going to do, and that there's this micro focus on if we make the wrong choice and our whole career will be ruined and all this stuff. The theme, and when we started this podcast, I had no concept that there were that many of us that have had many generations of our career. And if you wouldn't mind kind of closing us out a little bit on that idea, because I think it gives a lot of hope, number one, to young doctors who think there's all this pressure to pick the right choice. And there's freedom that lives in that. The mid-career doctors like myself who are envisioning that there might be a second phase where you don't have to take PPOs and do that type of dentistry. And then the later career dentists who are participating in what they believe to be their truest form of practice, their art and science craft all kind of coming together, and their legacy, I think, at that point of what they want to leave behind. So if you wouldn't mind indulging me on that.
I would not. And I'm definitely on the trailing end of that, having been doing this for 38 years. But yeah, I mean, I think we all
Minus
go
a few.
through minus a few, but yeah, I think we all go through that initial phase of, you just got to get out of dental school and you just got to get your reps in, right? You just
Yep.
got to figure out like how to do an MO in less than 4 hours and having to temporize at the end of the 4 hours, because that's probably not going to work super long, right? So we all do that piece of it. And in my life, that was, I worked at a public health clinic for about 8 months, and then I went and I worked at a really, really busy insurance. I ultimately own my practice again, so I've owned more than one in 2 different states. But you're right. I think there's a period of time in the middle of your career where you've got to earn a living, you're taking care of your family, you've got kids. If you own a practice, you have to pay the practice off. You have to balance logistics decisions that are often financial with finding a way through dentistry that you enjoy and doing the things you enjoy. And I am definitely now in the phase of my career where I don't need to go to my office and practice dentistry to make a living anymore. And I gotta tell you, that's actually exponentially more fun than you might imagine, right? It is like literally to not have that pressure there and to be able to go do the kind of dentistry I want and have honest conversations with patients without that, are they going to say yes kind of a pressure. It's really so much more fun. And, so I'm glad I got here. And I think for a lot of us, Jennifer, it doesn't even have to be clinical practice, right? I mean, you can teach, whether that's at a dental school or like so many people we've talked about tonight who get on the circuit and become a KOL. And part of that is because you want to learn it. There's no better way to learn it than to have to learn it at a level to teach it to somebody else, right?
100%.
But it's also, it's super fun to be able to spend time with other dentists. And if you teach them one pearl that makes life easier next week in their practice, it's a different kind of rewarding. Or like what you guys are doing with the podcast, right? It's like, this is not only a way for you guys to have the conversations that are important to you and be with each other, but other people get to listen to it and go, oh my God, I'm not alone. That happens to me. I have those feelings. So there's so many different ways to find fulfillment in dentistry. And so you can kind of chart your own path, but it gets a lot easier to do that once you get out of the phase where you just got to earn a certain amount of money because I got to pay the note on the practice and the mortgage on my house, and I'm saving to put 3 kids through college. So yeah, I think we all have that life cycle, right? We all have that life cycle, just our own version of it.
Well said.
What about the part of life where you haven't saved enough to put 2 kids through college? Is that okay to continue to try and strive?
Okay, this is a different live episode.
Yeah,
Absolutely, but you hope they were
part
really
2 is
smart.
that
They were
conversation
really
and
smart.
the buying big buildings part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is where Jeff talks about the
Yeah.
real estate
Hey,
investments.
The joking, all joking aside, the struggles are real throughout your entire career. They just become very, very different. And, let's just hope that when you're trying to fulfill those obligations, that you're having a damn good time doing it and you love what you do.
That would be the best thing ever, Chad. No question. So
Yeah.
So yeah, well, one thing I do want to just kind of mention too, before we wrap up, is one of the things we get the gift of doing at Pankey, because we have a lot of dentists who are grateful for what they learned there, who actually donate money to the Pankey Foundation, is we use it to set up scholarships. And so lots and lots of scholarships for younger dentists who are wanting to start our curriculum. We have scholarships that let you take that first class at a 60% discount off of what you see on our website that the tuition is. We have lots of other name scholarships that give people $1,000 off or $2,000 off. It's super simple. So, if you're thinking about joining and you're younger and you're still trying to practice all those financial things we just talked about, including maybe your student loans, we may have a solution for you thanks to the generosity of older dentists who took Pankey before and are just grateful for what they got, and they're trying to pay it forward. So,
really awesome.
that might be something worth checking out.
That's part of the culture too. I realized that when I was at the meeting. So we here would call that a BAD scholarship, which would be a broke ass dentist scholarship. However, I think you have a much nicer name for it, and I think people really do appreciate it. So,
Well, maybe I can donate and start the Jeff Horowitz Don't Do This Foundation.
yeah.
The Jeff Horowitz Don't Do This Scholarship.
So,
Maybe we change the whole Friday Fail thing to Don't Do This.
don't do this.
Hey,
That's a great idea, actually.
Yeah, the
You
Ask
know-
Me How I Know Scholarship.
I think that this is a great moment to close on because there's a couple things that I want to say based upon what Jeff just said and what Dr. Brady just said. But anyhow, first off, thank you for being here tonight. I want to have everybody in the show notes. We will put the link to the Pankey Institute. Want everybody to look into Pankey. As far as the educational curriculums, you're the first one here. You did a hell of a job. So, hey, thank you.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
It's a lot of fun. And I would say I really enjoyed myself at the symposium a few years ago. Hope to get back there one day. It was a lot of fun and really noticed a culture. So thank you. And thank you for what you all do. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and close. And I think Jeff brought up a great way to close. He said, don't do this. And I'm just going to say that we've got two people on the left side of the screen here that in different ways have learned from their mistakes or their dislikings. We've got Dr. Brady, who realized, hey, I don't really like dentistry, but damn it, I'm going to go back and I'm going to find a way to love dentistry. And I have. And then we've got Jeff, who is just a fantastic clinician, and he cannot beat himself up over what happened, because the beauty of what happened to Jeff this week, although we don't know what it is that
we will.
Something happened that wasn't supposed to happen in his practice, but he's turning it into a learning experience. Turn the negatives in life into a learning experience and learn to love what you do, because we all learn from our mistakes and our false steps. And, let's just use those to make ourselves better. And I just appreciate everybody for being here tonight, everybody for listening, and please look into the Pankey Institute. Everybody have a wonderful evening. And thank you for being here, Lee.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you
me.
so much. It was great having you.
Good night.
And that wraps up another podcast for Dentists in the Know. On behalf of Dr. Jennifer Bell, Dr. Chad Duplantis, and myself, remember that we've got a great profession, so let's make it a great day, Dinks.